You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary Krabby. Oh my goodness! Squidward!
DLCs have certainly got out of hand over the years. With things like these, it's hard to imagine this all started out as a dial-up service. Hello everyone, today on Torn from Oblivion, where you come for the cats and stay for the facts, we're going to have a whimsical tour into DLC past and some of the recent debaucheries in the present. The first DLCs, as we know them, came from the Atari 2600 GameLine service way back in 1983. Way back then you could download a game from the internet. Now, it looked a little different. It was simultaneously the first third-party gaming service, as well as the first game hosting service ever, from what I can tell. I'll read you a bit of the wiki article. In 1983, cable pioneer William von Meister was looking for a way to use his modem transmission technology, think dial-up. Legal issues caused cable providers to step away from the service, leaving von Meister with a delivery tool and no content. He then converted his technology to download games from central servers to individual households. This allowed users to dial a system and, for a fee, download games to their GameLine modules. The game would typically work for 5 to 10 plays, after which the user would have to connect to the GameLine service again and pay for another download. The master module had 8 kilobytes of RAM and a 1.2 kilobyte modem, and physically resembled an oversized silver Atari cartridge. It has a phone jack on the side and was used to link the master module with the CVC computer. The modem is able to transmit blah blah blah, lots of dial-up language stuff. CVC tried but failed to obtain licensing agreement from the largest game makers such as Atari, Activision, Coleco, Mattel, and Parker Brothers. Yes, that is right. A dial-up modem for the Atari 2600 to download games you could play 5 times and then have to pay again. And they didn't even have Atari or Activision branded games. The kind of idea was followed up by the similar but better Sega Genesis's Sega Channel. That's very hard to say, which you can Google for yourself. But that was the olden time where most people didn't even have access to the internet and perms were still a thing. Things progressed, time moved forward. Total Annihilation was an RTS that formed the basis of several excellent games to follow, including Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, which I consider to be the best RTS ever. It was also one of the first games to have full downloadable expansion packs. There were 2, the Core Contingency and Battle Tactics, which added units, maps, etc. The funny thing? They were both free. Amazing, right? Of course, Cavedog went out of business, so it didn't work for them, but still free expansions. That's neat. This was around the sweet spot in time where the internet was still considered a novelty, and core game sales were the primary way devs made money. During this time, games were popular enough to sell well, and perhaps the need for additional content was seen more as a way to satisfy the whims of users who might want to buy the game outright, than a business model to keep existing users in so they could continue to pay money. All of that changed, of course, when the Fire Nation attacked. In 2005, Xbox Live added support for microtransactions. Yeah, that's right, that terrible business model is that old. They thought devs would benefit from being able to charge users a small, quotes, amount. Of course, the most well-known early example of this is from Oblivion, where you could pay up to $2.50, ooh, big money, for a skin for your horse. This was considered far too expensive for a simple cosmetic DLC and an annoyance at best. Yes, friends, back in the 2000s, people thought $2.50 was too much for a skin. Wild how we went from paying to play games 5 times, and that apparently being fine enough, to a $2 skin being criminal. DLC and microtransactions became pretty mainstay during the 2010s. Sure, there were good expansions that were all well worth the money, I'm sure, and benefited people, but that's dull to talk about. I'm gonna focus on the bad stuff. Pay to remove ads. Want to buy more energy so you can keep playing? Buy gold and crystals. Mobile games became extremely mainstream with the advent of cheap and efficient smartphones. Games like Angry Birds from 2009 and Clash of Clans in 2012 led the way with a new type of system, freemium gaming. Sure, there were probably games like this before them, and that had a similar business model, but in my opinion, these are the ones that had the biggest general influence. To speed up processes, paying for small expansions, free retries, and removing ads. At first, what was criminal became normal. Were you mad about buying a horse costume for $2? Well, now people are spending literal thousands of dollars in clans in order to stay on top of some leaderboard. Oh, where did we go wrong? The 2010s set us up for every egregious breach of trust in the 2020s. For all the horrors we have today, devs took their lessons from here. They learned to hook users and offer initially small purchase opportunities that essentially led into gambling loss chasing. As gaming became more and more accessible, so did DLCs and ads. It became such a staple that, in fact, I feel the need to scream into the void that several things are still ridiculous. Remember, people used to be angry about a $2 cosmetic, and then we all sort of quieted down. May I lend my voice to the side of reason? I used to play World of Tanks. Honestly, I loved it for a while, so no hate. I also have to add the caveat that since I haven't played in a while, I may not be 100% up to date, but I'll still be pretty close. The starter bundles you see are all hilarious, with the exception, possibly, of the cheapest one. The game presents these as a way to jumpstart your gameplay, but they just aren't. The initial grind in World of Tanks is actually fairly quick. What isn't quick is how quickly you learn the game. It takes a good 1,000 to 2,000 games, according to many players, to be decent enough to fully make use of the higher tier vehicles included in these. Want to know something else that will be quick, though? Your teammates' tempers when you take a tier 7 slot in a tier 7 game with a vehicle you have no experience with and no idea how camo and armor angling works. These are essentially a waste of money and extremely deceptive. It's insane. I've played with people like this who buy the starter pack, pick the tank that quote-unquote makes the most money, and then proceed to get eviscerated and leave the team at an extreme disadvantage because they don't have their top tier heavy or their top tier tank destroyer because their teammate had no idea what they were doing. Like I alluded to in the opening gag, Apex Legends required a wild amount of cash in order to guarantee a loot box pool for a set of special cosmetics. This was done in a not at all gambling app method of seeding cheaper pools early and encouraging chasing losses. You see, you had a tiny chance of pulling the special cosmetics. It was just less than 1%, and they didn't say how much less than 1%. You could of course guarantee it by spending all that money and buying all the loot box necessary in order to guarantee it. But you're special, remember that, so you'll pull it early, it'll be fine. This was extremely predatory, and I'll probably do a whole other video on the tactics of this kind of DLC and microtransaction nonsense, but I wanted to go ahead and just call out this behavior here. Battle passes. I've noticed battle passes getting even more popular than they already were, and I have to say, I'm really not against them. This is a pretty fair way of getting additional funds while still getting people to play the game. It keeps people in the gameplay loop and also feels more rewarding. The best part, it's generally not random. You know exactly what you're going to get for one set price. And I wanted to end on these to end on a bit of a good note because, I mean, frankly, these are alright. You know what you're going to be getting. There isn't any random chance that you're going to get a highly coveted item for essentially free when everyone else has to pay a lot of money. There isn't any "you're so special, everything's just going to work out" or trying to jumpstart your game. It's just a linear progression path for you to pick up items that you want. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I also hope you have a great day. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and if you didn't enjoy it, well, go watch a cat video or something. Everybody loves cats, so bye.